A calmer scene on Sunday at Toronto's popular Trinity Bellwoods Park. But Saturday, it was like COVID-19 never happened.
Rise again.
The city said thousands came to the park, lured by the weather.
As soon as the sun came out, I said, it's done now.
I think people are just kind of ready to be happy again.
The images were met with criticism online and from officials.
Like many others, I was disappointed and frankly saddened by what I saw.
From one doctor, an emotional plea.
We have to do better. I don't want my ER and my ICU filled up again with sick people.
The city told people to enjoy parks, but not like this.
You can meet friends at the park, but yes, please stay 2 meters apart. That is the requirement.
The city says 14 tickets were handed out yesterday across all Toronto parks, saying while enforcement was present, there were thousands of people here and it wasn't realistic to ticket everyone. More enforcement was brought in today to educate people, but Toronto's police chief says the problem wasn't as widespread as the photos made it seem.
On the north side of the park, the social distancing was being done well. On the south end of the park, the social distancing was done well. So it's not everybody that was here.
Isolation fatigue is challenging, especially in a crowded city.
I think the reward is very real after you've been, isolated for so long. I saw people hugging, I saw people high-fiving, they just want normal. And I think they're trying to grab that normal back a little bit.
There are many people who are alone, many people that live in the many condos here that don't have any outside spaces or balconies.
Experts say we'll know in the coming days how much damage was done.
I'm worried that, in 5 to 7 days from yesterday, after these huge crowds that were being reported at some parks, that we're going to see a lot more cases again.
And a sharp increase in cases could derail a phased plan to reopen. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
And Toronto's Mayor John Tory met with crowds in the park to find out why they weren't following the rules. But images circulating on social media showed him speaking with people seemingly closer than 2 meters away, and also with his mask down, sending, according to some critics, mixed messages. In response, the mayor issued an apology tonight, saying he intended to properly physically distance, but that it was difficult. He also acknowledged he failed to use his mask properly, signaling he'd set a better example in the future. Well, let's get a medical perspective on this from Isaac Bogosh, an infectious disease specialist with Toronto General Hospital. And Dr. Bogosh, first of all, how risky was that behavior yesterday at Trinity Bellwoods?
Well, certainly we saw lots of people clustered together in an area, and we saw many groups with many people, well over 5 people, in very close proximity to one another. So certainly we know this infection can be transmitted if people are in close proximity. Yes, I get it. It was outside, which lowers the risk slightly. But when people are in close proximity like that, it can be a setup for this virus to be transmitted.
And I know you're an infectious disease specialist, not a psychologist, but you must have given this some thought. How do you get the message out to people to not take those kinds of risks?
I think we really need very clear messaging from multiple levels, and that messaging has to be understandable to all demographics and all age groups. And, in addition to that, I think there's a large element of public blowback. I mean, this is all anyone's been talking about in and around Toronto and, of course, elsewhere in Canada. And I think it's obviously brought shame to people who were in that park, and I think perhaps that might be enough to dissuade people from large congregations moving forward.
And I guess in a week or two, when we see if symptoms develop, we'll see what impact this may or may not have had. Dr. Bogosh, thank you very much.
Have a good night.